Disclaimer: this video is of humorous nature only. The author does not seek to insult or humiliate anyone. The video may contain profanity. People under the age of 16 should refrain from watching this video. Story 1. Leaving a six-figure career, using my life savings to renovate a house for my quadriplegic brother, and taking on his full-time caregiving with my wife. Wouldn't change a thing. Little backstory. He has a rare form of leukodystrophy, and it's taken everything but his sense of humor and will to live. He's 28 now. During COVID, his care wasn't good. He lost a lot of weight and started having seizures due to malnutrition. He was alone in a room most days with very little interaction aside from feedings. They just left a TV on for him and walked away. Most days, my wife and I got lucky during COVID. She traveled for healthcare at different hospitals, and I could work from home for my job. She landed a job near my family and my brother. We didn't know how bad it got for him. When we moved close for her new assignment, we saw it all, and we took it upon ourselves to advocate for him and change things for the better. We got him a feeding tube, new therapy, new communication devices, and modified his wheelchair, so many things. I could get mad and blame people for this, but I need to remind myself that he's alive and still with us. There were times we thought he wasn't going to make it. We decided this is where we needed to be, and we bought a house near him and renovated it for him, opening up the floor plan. His room is open to the common areas, so he always has human interaction, an easily accessible bathroom for his bathing, and an elevator. We just wanted him to have the choice to live where he wants, and he chose to live with us after a few visits. Now he's our main focus. We quit our jobs to give him the best possible life while he's with us. I am very proud and I love having him with us. Story 2. Being the safe house for my daughter's friends. I've been told a couple of times that my wife and I help her friend have a quiet place to study and just relax from her daily stress. She's 10, and it breaks my heart when she has to go back. But I'm glad she has a place she feels safe and knows she can always have food, clothes, same size as my daughter, a friend, and a place to relax. Story 3. Single father with sole custody of 2 daughters since they were 1 and 2 years old. Both of my daughters graduated high school with honors. Both of my daughters are in college, with my oldest daughter close to graduation. As a single father, I raised my daughters by myself without any help. Also, 20 years working in a job which provides food for low-income people. Story 4. That me, being a 30-year-old Belgian, with an okay but not great-paying job, have been able to build what we call a kangaroo house, meaning me and my girlfriend live in a duplex apartment, and my mom and grandmother live downstairs. My grandmother being 85 now, who is a proud, elderly woman, who still drove her car, traveled around the world, cared for her older sisters, driving them around for hospital visits and end-of-life care, or cared for up to 7 kids, cousins and nieces, right till she was around 80, 81. And then COVID hit. She lived alone since my grandfather died when she was about 50 years old. I'd see her wither away of loneliness during the COVID lockdowns and curfews. I would do her grocery shopping with my mom, but we had to literally leave the bags at her door, ring the bell, and walk away. When the lockdowns were finally lifted, she was finally able to step outside again, and fell, hard, shattering her shoulder and elbow, after several surgeries and months of revalidation. I picked her up from hospital and told her this was the last time she would ever be alone again. Me, my mother, and girlfriend put all our saving together, took out loans and mortgages, and built a big house with a beautiful garden, so every single one of us could have their own space. But for me, most important of all, to have my grandmother back, smiling and enjoying life. Pretty proud of what I built. And my grandmother? She's almost back to her old self. Except now I drive her around to wherever she needs to be. After all, she did that years and years for me. She worked hard enough for us. Time to give back. Story 5. How much I've grown and changed from age 20-30. Used to be a lost, uninformed, lazy fat pothead. I didn't understand how credit worked. I had no knowledge on healthy food and being fit. I had terrible teeth and poor hygiene. I had the absolute worst social skills imaginable, and basically no future. No direction, motivation, ambition. I didn't know how to wear clothes properly. I sagged my pants and wore oversized Walmart novelty t-shirts. My clothes were always dirty. Couldn't figure out why no girls liked me. Fast forward to today, age 31. I'm a very clean person. I've learned a whole lot about as much as I can, and I've had braces and speech therapy. I had a ton of social interaction with my jobs, which has transformed my ability to communicate and socialize with anyone. I've gotten in shape and now dress professionally in properly fitting, nice clothes. I am a sales consultant and damn good at talking to strangers. I'm so dramatically different, and honestly, a lot of that I can attribute to my LSD trips. They changed me. I had to basically face myself and talk crap to myself for 8 hours straight multiple times to really get a grasp on who I am and who I want to be. For those who haven't done that before, it's a hell of a terrible experience in the moment, but you come out just fine on the other side. You can always grow and change if you are willing to look at yourself from an outside perspective. Story 6. Admitting to myself that I needed therapy. Taking that step has vastly improved my life. I had gotten divorced 6 months earlier, after 10.5 years together, and I kept attributing everything going on with my body to stress. Since that point, I have made the decision to see doctors, got back out dating, and am now engaged. Why I bring up the doctors? I had a lot of shoulder pain. Turned out to be a loosened shoulder that I had put off the pain for 20 years as just not being strong enough. Got help for that and have seen a much greater range of motion and strength. Then I had my back checked out and found out I had 4 slipped discs. Those also got treated, and my back pain I thought was normal has simply disappeared. While doing that, my physical therapist noticed enlarged lymph nodes I had and convinced me to get them checked out. Turned out to be stage 3 classical Hodgkin's lymphoma. I finished chemo yesterday with early PET scans being very promising of being cured. I wouldn't have done any of that had I not been convinced I needed to take care of myself first and foremost by my therapist. My therapist helped me get through my divorce and make me realize it wasn't the end of the road. I was worthy of finding someone who loved me, and that it takes 2 people, in most cases, to let a relationship fail. I now have a much healthier relationship with an amazing woman. Story 7. I have 2 college degrees. I beat all the odds to do it. Statistically, I should not have even one. I am Mexican Native American, low-income background, disabled, mentally ill, plus learning disabilities, a woman, etc. Yet I have not 1, but 2. I'm in a career position, Ron, and I plan to do this for a few more years, then go back to school for a master's. I'm also the first woman in my family to not have a baby before 20, almost 25, and going strong in not being a young mother. I'm working so hard to break the cycle that I can from. It's difficult, and one wrong move and I could fall back in, but I'm always working towards that goal. Story 8. My older sister. She has been through and still goes through some hard trials times in her life, but she always managed to pull things off and push through hard times. She is kind and funny too. Without her, I wouldn't be here. As many other older kids, SB in poor families, she had to bear the weight of the failings of our parents in the first place. I hope I can repay the solidarity she gives me when I get better. Staying alive. I feel like a zombie, but I guess it still is nice to have resisted debilitating mental health issues ever since early childhood. 23 of my life being unwell, but I managed to not let go yet. I hope I'll finally have a stable and happier life one day. IDK. But I'm here for now, and it's a good effort by itself. Becoming fully sober after years of substances abuse. Now I have the issue of lacking the self-medication to function in society. Still need to find doctors and all, but at least my organs are safe now. My cat. He is my rock, my sweet, sweet boy. I could go on and on about how much I love this bugger. Story 9. I saved someone from drowning and was given a life-saving award by the city. I am proud of this, as the entire time that I was bringing him in on my surfboard, He kept telling me about his family and how sorry he was for even being put in this position. It was close to dark, and the rip currents were strong due to a hurricane swell. I'm honestly not sure why he thought taking a swim was a good idea, but he is alive. I never got his name, nor did I tell the fire department my name. I wasn't going to tell anyone about it to begin with. A week later, my buddy texts me asking if I rescued someone, and turns out the fire department was trying to find me on Instagram. Later that year, I was invited to their awards ceremony, where they presented me with an award for rescuing the individual. Honestly, my life isn't perfect, and I am currently not in a great position to say I am even the slightest bit happy. I feel lonely and far beyond isolated. But I do like to think that I've made an impact on someone's life after that experience. Story 10. I'm most proud of my dad. I'm proud that I was blessed to have had such a great man as a father and best friend. I would probably be dead or have a litany of mental disorders if he wasn't in my life. He worked as a barber for 49 years, 6 days a week, until his last 5 years. Both knees were bone on bone for most of my life. He couldn't afford both health insurance and life insurance for himself in my younger years, so he opted for life insurance so that I would be taken care of in the event that he died back then. My dad is everything a patriarch should be. He passed on 55/21, and there isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss him and appreciate everything he did for me. Even though we didn't do everything I wanted us to do together, we did quite a bit, and we told each other how much we truly meant to each other on multiple occasions. I love you, Dad. Thank you for everything. I wouldn't be anything without you. Story 11. I found out the day before graduation in high school that I was going to graduate. Not a good student at all. 8 years later, I decided to go to college to pursue a nursing degree after I tried killing myself and was admitted to a mental hospital. He was the perfect nurse in every way, and I wanted to be like him. My first year back, I excelled in my classes, and one of my professors nominated me to be in the National Honor Society of Leadership and Success. Best feeling in the world. Story 12. In 2019, I bought my house to try and start a life with my GF and had my cousin and a friend to lighten the load. Within 4 months of closing, my ex-GF left me. My friend left because he didn't want to pay the extra in rent due to my ex-GF leaving. He's ducking dead to me for other reasons. When he left, he said, "How are you going to pay this house without me?" My cousin had to move back to his mom's during the pandemic due to her contracting COVID, and he had to take care of her and his younger siblings. Since all that happened, I got my PMP with a decent pay raise, got promoted within a year of getting my first project management position at a company that I like working for, and I still was able to afford the mortgage without any ducking help. Duck you, I ain't going anywhere. Story 13. I got into a top 100 WW law school. I have the offer for next semester. I think ejaculate or cum, semen stints, will make me defer for a year, but getting that offer felt like I'd hit a milestone I missed out on. Most people work hard in school and have their crying moment when that hard work pays off, and they get an offer for their dream college, be it undergrad or grad school. I'm almost 29. I graduated 11 years ago. I sucked at school. Unmedicated ADHD and social awkwardness. The fact that I've gotten into a school I never would have dreamed of at that time makes me feel a little less like I missed a landmark moment that at the time feels enormous. It's like a delayed box being checked off. Emotionally, it hit me like a truck for that reason, I think. Story 14. For 30-plus years, I was in the state education agency in a small population western state. Anyone could call or email me if they had concerns about a kid in special education in a public school. I was available to parents, special education teachers, regular education teachers, administrators, and anyone else who wanted information or training on autism, dealing with kids with behavior problems or special education rules. I provided or made available hundreds of trainings in those years. I provided training for 30,000 or more people over the decades, in a state where that is about 10x the number of public school staff in special education. I was also known as the person bureaucrat, who would reply to questions quickly, succinctly, with do ejaculate or cum, sementation rules guidance do ejaculate or cum, seminence and honesty. I might have doxed myself here. Hopefully no one shows up and says, "Hi, real name." Story 15. That I didn't do that KMS during my third year in HS? A lot of things happened and I regained myself, living now and trying my best to achieve my dreams in life. I'm just so proud of myself and of course for being there for my mom during my third YR in HS, if I wasn't there for her and if did what she asked me to buy for her, which was obvious that it was for something. I know for sure I would go home and would find out that I would never see my mom alive ever again. Up until now, that's still the thing that I'm most proud of in my life. After that, I promised myself that I will live for her and I will cherish every moment because my mom decided to live for us. Story 16. I never finished college to get a degree. I've been working random office jobs. I would always be the top performer and end up maxed out on the pay scale they'd offer for that position, and it was always at a small family-owned company, so no room for advancement. I've always been good with computers and would end up being the go-to for any issues on a computer or the Excel guru since I was self-taught. I got an entry-level position in a big bank, and after 5 promotions internally, I've made it to Senior Technology Analyst in Critical Incident Management. It was my dream come true to get my foot in the door in it. I've never been prouder of my career before, and I'm truly happy with what I do finally. Story 17. My son, hands down. No idea how it happened because I'm weird. But he's grown into such an amazing man, just an overall wonderful human, kind and thoughtful, totally independent and self-sufficient. Well on his way to achieving his goals. I'm super proud to be his mom. Purely individually speaking, my dream for like 24 years was to own an RV and live a life of travel. But I was poor, like too poor to even dream about such things. Lowell ended up going into a new career that completely changed my financial situation, and I realized I could actually make it a reality. After several years of saving, I just got it a few months ago. Next month, I'll be full-time, and thanks to my new career, able to work remotely. I think that's pretty cool. Story 18. That I'm still alive. 5 years ago, I was absolutely certain I was going to die by depression. I would take my life, or it would slowly take me in other ways. After formal diagnosis and meds, my entire life changed. I haven't had a self-termination thought in years. While yes, there's still time. I never let myself forget where I was and how much I never want to go back there. The life I have now felt impossible, and I worked hard to still be here for it. Story 19. When I was in high school, I was a visual arts major. I was always in art classes, and at some point I was in 3 in a single semester. When I was in my junior year, I curated my portfolio for my app art class. After COVID hit, things stunted, but I eventually pushed through and finished my portfolio. I got a 5, the highest score possible for the exam. The whole semester, the teacher kept stressing how she has only had a few students reach that score in her time. I was the only one in my class to achieve this. I don't do art much anymore, but that was something that was so important to me. Story 20. Probably the least important in this thread, but cool to me. When I was younger, I had a far familiar who I have only met once. I am Spanish, and she worked as a traductor. Knew like 7 languages or so. I remember being in a car with her listening to some English song on the radio and asked her, "How does it feel to know what they are saying?" Because of course I didn't. I don't know what did she answer, but of course I do understand it no. I think of that sometimes, and I like it. Story 21. I truly believe I am breaking generational curses. My parents are both addicts, as were my grandparents. I didn't use weed or alcohol until my 20s, and although I face anxiety about becoming like my family, I believe I partake responsibly. I'm a first-gen college graduate when no other member of my family went that far in schooling. I also believe I treat my partner better than either of my parents treat each other to this day. As much as I face shame for the things I haven't accomplished and fear that I won't be as great as many think I will be, I want to take this moment to be proud of the man I am today. Story 22. My kids. Neither one has gone to college, both work mediocre jobs, but they are the kindest people. I have seen my daughter wear a new pair of earrings for the first time, and a lady at a gas station complimented them and told her they reminded her of her daughter who passed. Without a moment's hesitation, she took them out and gave them to her. My son found out a coworker was going without their insulin because they couldn't afford it. He called me to go get money out of his bank account and go to the pharmacy to get her medicine. My greatest accomplishment in life is that I raised 2 wonderful people. And honestly, it's enough. Story 23. Being the dad I wanted to be to my 4-year-old son. Yeah, maybe he's a wee bit spoiled, but I've held pretty damn close to vowing to myself and him I'd never do what my own father had done to me. He knows I love him. I apologize after I lose my temper, and I never give him the silent treatment, nor will I ever lay a hand against him. Story 24. That I can function here in Colombia and talk to local people a little over a year since starting to learn Spanish from scratch. It turns out that learning a language is pretty amazing. I have a long way to go to reach fluency, but I watch every film and show in Spanish now and read news articles every day. I started losing weight during the pandemic and ultimately lost around 30 kilos. I'm in much better shape now than I was in 2020. I am proud of that. However, I'm very much used to it. A language is a whole new world. Story 25. I'm married 30 years this month. We've raised 3 kids, all college educated and doing very well. I'm not college educated myself, so I'm so happy of this achievement for my kids. I'm the youngest of 4, and it was me who my parents moved in with in their old age. With the help of my wife, seen them from this life to the next under my own roof, and I cherish every moment they had with me and my family. Now, I'm trying to get ready for retirement inside the next 10 years and reflect on all of it. Hell of a ride, but wouldn't change a thing. Story 26. My marriage. I grew up in an extremely unhealthy household. My father was a cheater who abandoned our family. My mom became an addict and had a series of horrible, abusive relationships. I thought all relationships were meant to a mess and that couples just fought and screamed. I've been with my wife for almost 13 years now and have such a loving, beautiful, incredible relationship. I could stare into her eyes for hours. She is absolutely the light of my life, and I feel I've learned so much about nurturing a relationship, being open, honest, and communicating. It's something I didn't know could happen. Story 27. My animal rescue. I rescue a lot of species and I do get friendly animals in, but I really kind of specialize in large and/or aggressive exotic animals. I am super proud to be able to say, yes, I can take the giant python that wants to eat me, or yes, the peacock that made you need stitches can live here, and give that animal not just a place to live out its days, but a sufficiently sized enclosure where they can explore and display natural behaviors. It's expensive and time-consuming, but I love it. Story 28. 3 years I companioned with a Greek lady who turned 100 last March 10th, from the time she was 93 to 98. I learned so much about life from her. Her rich kids who didn't want to take time out of their lives to care for her paid me major money. I used to cook, clean, help her in and out of the tub. Just had to hold her hand and she would sit Indian fashion and wash. I'd help her dress. But she was completely mobile. When she came to America, it took her 19 days on a ship from Greece. Story 29. My mom. We have had a lot of terrible things happen to our family that I'm not going to go into. But through it all, my mother has and still is the glue. In my family, we kind of don't talk about our feelings, and I don't know why or when this happened. I don't blame my mother, of course, but I wish I could tell her that I know I'm not the best son. I think I'm terrible, TBH, but that I'm proud to be her son and to have such a strong mother like her. Story 30. I was lucky that my previous company needed extreme amounts of overtime, which was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I was proud that I identified the opportunity, did the overtime, and managed to save up enough to get my own place. There's still the mortgage, but I'm able to adjust certain things so that I don't have to fork out too much for it. Right after COVID, I was broke and jobless. I managed to get to a currently secure situation due to a lot of luck and some hard work. So that's what I'm proud of. Story 31. Raising money for various charities. most notably over $2,000 for 4 different charities due to cycling the national cycling route in the Highlands of 500 miles. This was a solo, self-sufficient effort. Have also cycled to France for charity too as part of a work thing, and raised quite a bit of money for Macmillan cancer support. Come to think of it, there were 100 or so of us, and we collectively raised over $100K for Macmillan cancer support. I've also had jobs where I've got to help people, which gave me satisfaction. Story 32. My kids. My son just finished his freshman year of college and made it into the honors program. I also consistently get compliments from other parents about how kind and supportive he is, which makes me very proud. My daughter is in 5th grade and has already auditioned for and been cast in multiple professional theater productions. I also get compliments from her teachers about how supportive she is of younger students. Every day, I'm proud of how hard they work and how kind they are to others. Story 33. Apart from being 7 years clean off meth? Survival. I have survived great odds stacked against me. I have survived abuse and self-abuse, severe mental illness, sauced attempts, severe addictions, being dirt poor, and much more. I'm amazed by my own persistence even when it seemed like everything in the world was conspiring to beat me down. And now I find myself in a place in life where I am legitimately mentally healthy. I have no addictions, and I am truly happy living by myself and appreciating my own company. Story 34. When I was finishing my accounting degree, I got a part-time job at a consulting company and have worked my way up ever since, buying a house, getting married, and now having my firstborn son. There's parts of me that didn't think I could or would have this type of upper-middle-class success and being happy and fulfilled with life. So, I'm proud of being the class clown that some people heavily doubt to make anything of themselves in life. Ducking cheers, mate. Story 35. I moved to a state in my friend's backyard with only a tent and backpack, no car, no job, no girlfriend, and not much money. 6 years later, I got my BA. I have 2 jobs, an EMT and caregiver for special needs adults. I'm engaged to the love of my life. We have a beautiful house in the woods together, talking about a kid, and next week we're going to finally plant our garden by the apple trees. I'm proud of all that, pretty much. Story 36. My son. I had a lockdown breakup at age 30 and assumed I'd never have kids, then met my now girlfriend and got her pregnant after 6 months. My son is 2.5 now, and he's the light of my life. I look at him in awe every day. He has showed me a love I never knew I could feel. Watching him learn new words day by day brings me a joy and pride that I thought only other people could experience. Story 37. I played in the national youth football team. Signed my first professional contract at 17, only to blow it at 20 because of an unhealthy relationship and my lack of discipline. After a few tough years of depression, drug abuse, and I've picked myself up and am currently finishing my university degree. Final exams coming up soon. I moved to a new city, got a good job, and new friends. I'm still struggling, but I'm on a good path. Story 38. Spending my dad's final years with him, and shortly before he passed, he told me out of everything he's done, I was what he was most proud of. We didn't talk about many things like that, so for him to say that to me really meant something. I think I can speak for most sons when I say all we want to do is make our dads proud. It's something I'll always hold on to and be the most proud of. Story 39. Self-actualization and lifestyle changes that helped me with my lifelong clinical depression, social anxiety, and a chronic autoimmune disease. I thought I'd be dead by now, or just perpetually isolated. I've managed to now maintain a career, a loving partnership, a supportive group of friends, and buy a house. I still can't believe it sometimes. Other than that, I held the YR speed run on Super Punch-Out! For like 3 weeks at one point, lol. Story 40. Surviving after my boyfriend committed sauced. I received multiple messages telling me it was my fault and that I should also kill myself, he never loved me, etc. Also, 6 months after he died, his sister told me I didn't know him long enough. To love him enough to still be grieving that she lost someone she'd known his whole life and I hadn't. Story 41. I had a baby 6 weeks before I graduated high school almost 30 years ago. I went on and graduated college 6 years later and worked my second-choice career. I just left that career, and I am now working in one of the coolest places you could work and contributing to making the future better for generations to come. No one except me thought I would make it through college. Story 42. Just in the past year, with my niece's DNA sample on Ancestry, I discovered my adopted brother-in-law's birth parents. At his request, his birth mother was still living. The birth situation was largely a positive one. His birth parents, unmarried when my Bill was born, married soon after, for over 40 years, and she was glad to hear from him. Story 43. I've completed every goal, education and career I've had, 3 degrees so far, and I'm on the path to complete the ones I currently have. I used to think what I have learned from them is useless. Turns out what I learned is pretty useful. I'd say I'm most proud of my ambition and willingness to continue learning. If I lose the motivation, I think I'm going to have a tough time. Story 44. Knowing that I grew into an incredibly emotionally mature adult, despite my traumatic childhood, I am someone that would have made my younger self feel safe. Not planning to have children of my own, but I thoroughly enjoy being a part of other people's village. There's also something deeply satisfying about having my 13 and 21-year-old younger sisters reaching out to ask for advice, hang out. Story 45. I spent most of my young life dedicated to some very specific goals. Buying a house, having a nice job, having a nice car, having a fiancé. I achieved it all, and within a year, I also lost it all. I'm most proud of the fact that I managed to regain those losses and have been able to keep a healthier lifestyle. One that hopefully won't see me losing everything again. Story 46. I read that when intimate assault survivors are victimized in their own beds, that the police have to take their sheets as evidence. A lot of times, it's a person's only set. That broke my heart, so I set up a bedsheet drive and took the sheets to various police departments and ASA Survivor Center. We collected about 150 sets of sheets. Story 47. I changed everything 3 years ago. Moved out on my own and with a little help got a bachelor pad and a job that pays rather well. Fast forward to now, and my girlfriend and I are apartment hunting for our own place, where the two of us and Hero or Doxies can live as a family. I'm also planning on making her my wife in the next year or two. Story 48. Growing up poor. At 36, I've accomplished most of my life goals and have a very good thing going. Have a happy 17-year relationship. Healthy and happy. 3.5-year-old son. Own a house in Toronto. Have a very high-paying job where I work 42.5 hours per week from home. Travel twice per year internationally. Don't feel like I need anything more. Story 49. My 16-year-old son is an absolute gem of a human. He's incredibly kind and compassionate, but not to his own detriment. He's so funny, with a quick wit and not an asshole about it. He stands up to bullies. This kid buys flowers on Valentine's Day for other kids he doesn't think will get one. I could keep going, but I think you get the idea. Story 50. It is such small potatoes, but my 8th grade class voting me to have the American Legion Award for being a deserving individual. And then even smaller potatoes, being voted best personality in high school. I graduated 20 years ago and am still riding that high. Story 51. That after my father put my family against my brother, mother, and I lived through all of that and ended up knowing 2 friends of mine who became like my sister and brother-in-law. And that, with them, I've built my own family. Still a messy, sometimes dysfunctional one, but mine, built by our effort and sacrifice. And dang, I love them all. Story 52. I do tattoos, and I love being able to do something with my hands for someone, and the reactions are always great. Whether it's a tribute memorial or someone's favorite character, the excitement and expressions make it all awesome. Some people use me as therapy to help get through things or to celebrate milestones, and I love being a part of something like that. Story 53. Honestly, I'm proud of being a functioning adult with a regular life and kids and whatnot. My childhood was pretty normal, But along the way, I suffered pretty major depression and just various small issues and never really reached out to anyone. So I feel like I overcame everything myself. Outwardly, it doesn't look like much, but to me, it feels massive. Story 54. Staying married. We met in high school, got engaged almost immediately, and married as soon as high school was over. It's been 20 years, we have 5 kids, and our oldest just graduated today. The people who said we were idiots have all divorced now, which makes me sad but also just a little bit smug at the same time. Story 55. Moving out at 18 and actually making it without any help from my mom. The only bill my mom is still paying is my phone bill, but I'm paying for everything myself. Besides that, I just turned 19, and looking around, I see other kids my age having better things than me. But I know that I'm making myself so far. Thank you all for watching. Watch even more great stories on my channel.